Welcome to the Leadership Spark podcast, where we equip you to be the great leader your people deserve. This is Corey, and today I want to wrap up a focus we've had over the last few days on the identity shift that every leader needs to make in order to be successful, getting the results that you want to get as a leader and building the kind of team that performs at the level that you want and you expect. And so we've gone through a series of ideas over the last few days about this identity shift, and we're going to wrap it up today by talking about some common bottlenecks that as a leader you can create. And oftentimes it is unintentional because as a leader, it's easy to hold on to control without even realizing it. You could be creating a bottleneck. You, as the leader, you could be the bottleneck. You could be the one person that is in the way of your team really accelerating the results that they can produce and the way that they work together. And so I want to share with you some zones or 5 bottleneck zones that you can find yourself in at work. You can find yourself in as a leader where things get stuck with you as the leader. When things slow down with you as a leader. Again, these could be unintentional, but spotting these bottlenecks and addressing them, you can let your team take more ownership, speed up work, and focus on the things that only you can do as a leader, which I know that you want to do that. That's why you're leading. And so I want you to lean in and I want you to listen about these bottleneck zones, because the idea and the go and do will be prevent these bottlenecks from happening with you and with your team. And so maybe one of these or more of these will resonate with you as I go through these. And so generally speaking, these are the 5 bottleneck zones or areas of leadership where a bottleneck could be created by you, the leader. Number 1 would be decisions. Is that tasks or choices you have to approve personally. If someone needs to get a decision made, or they want to start a task, or they have a choice that they have to make between 2 things, that you as the leader insist on approving everything personally. If you are approving everything personally, you will not scale your team. You will become a bottleneck, because at some point, even if it's manageable today, at some point it will tip over into a place to where you cannot personally be involved in every decision being made on your team or in whatever part of the organization that you own. And so decision can be a bottleneck because it all has to flow through you. Number 2, information. Knowledge or updates that only you hold. That could be a bottleneck. Maybe you have information that only you have and you're not sharing it with the team consistently, or you're not sharing it with the team with clarity, or you're not making it visible, even in an unintentional way. But that can be a bottleneck. If you are the person who holds all the information about something, then you can create a bottleneck that will slow your team down. Number 3, approval. This could be signing off for permission that you need to give before work can start. And so before someone can start a project, a task, whatever that may be, they have to get approval from you to be able to start it. If that's the case, you will become a bottleneck. Expertise. Maybe you have a specialized skill or you have knowledge that you hoard instead of sharing. That you hoard meaning you're not developing someone else to do it and successionally leading. And so if that's the case and you are the only person on your team who can do a specific task, then you can create a bottleneck. And so I encourage you to teach someone else to do what you do today so you can move on to focus on the things that matter most for you as a leader. And then relationships can be a bottleneck. Maybe you're the one person who has a connection to a specific person in your company, a cross-functional connection, or maybe it's an external partner that you manage and you're the only one that has the relationship. And at some point that could become a bottleneck if someone else isn't involved in those relationships and doesn't have the same connections that you have. And so this could be a blind spot for us as leaders. We could be creating bottlenecks without even knowing it. And so it's helpful to map these bottlenecks and systematically release ownership in these areas to be able to scale the team and get outcomes moving faster. By letting your team take responsibility in these areas, you're going to free yourself up so much to take strategic action or do the things that only you can do as a leader. And so if you don't check these and you allow these bottlenecks to persist, then it will slow your team down. Your team probably will be a little bit frustrated because they recognize that you are the bottleneck and they are dependent on you to get things done. And they want to spread their wings, so to speak, and be able to move forward. And so the questions for you are, which bottlenecks resonated with you? Which of those bottlenecks currently slow your team down? You may need to ask your team that question to be able to learn what it is, because you may not be able to see it as a leader. Where is your involvement unnecessary? Are there things that are part of the process to where your involvement isn't necessary? Which bottlenecks would, if you release them, would create the biggest impact? Which of those bottlenecks, if you released it, would create impact? And how do you start to delegate and start to bring other people in to be able to release the bottlenecks so that they don't slow your team down? And so want to encourage you to think about these bottlenecks and take the action to be able to get other people in your team involved. And this is all part of an identity shift that you have to make as a leader if you want to scale your team, if you want them to collectively come together to deliver the kind of results that you want to get as a team towards the common goal that you have, towards the direction or the results that you want to get or the outcomes that you have, that you expect from your team. If you want to achieve those in a scalable, highly accelerated way, then there has to be this identity shift from being the hero who saves the day all the time to being more like Yoda, who's coming alongside and empowering your team to do the work that only they can do, that collectively, when you add it together, you can achieve great results. And so I want to encourage you to continue to lean in and make the identity shift that you need to make as a leader to be able to scale yourself and to be able to get the results that you want.